you very much. Good morning. Even though the speaker doesn't work here, the campus can hear us. Again, thank you very much for showing up today. We are a couple of minutes late. Let's start. We have lots of people online, 85 people I see, and you see it there too. We have a couple of announcements, and then we would have updates from sponsored programs, including Caius and James, supervisor is here. We'll see if James would show up. He would show up, just he has time. Regarding announcements, you most probably have seen the announcements in the last several months from NIH and NSF. Both I'm talking about the policies they are working on reporting sexual harassments and related issues. And again, remember that the issue of sexual harassment prevention is on campus. That's not their role, NIH and NSF, to talk about preventions. They are talking about reporting only. So with that, the latest is that last week, a couple of days apart, on September 19th and September 21st, both NIH and NSF announced that their policies are going to become effective October 21st. And they are working on details of how the reporting would be done. System-wide, we are working together with the Office of the President, and all of the campuses are working to put the steps in place for dealing with whatever complaint would come in and how the reporting would be done. So next month, we would have an update, which most probably the representative of compliance of the campus, not our office, the campus from Miracle would be here to tell us how this, the system would work, how the reporting would be done. So the highlights of the what is involved is that if there is anybody who gets an award from October 21st on as a PI or co-PI, I think whether regardless of if it's new award or renewal from 21st on, October 21st on, if there is any allegation against them ever back in time and comes to university, then university has to take care of that and go through steps and report. Again, the steps are being worked out, and it's nothing that we have here right now. The most important issue is that it's affecting PIs and co-PIs, and the fact that it goes back in time. And the NSF especially seems like the way they have it, the layer from, the announcement that they have on their website, it goes beyond, quote unquote, what we know, typically we know as sexual harassment, because the wording they have, it says that anybody who gets funding from NSF, PI or co-PI, and who has a finding or determination regarding, and these are the words from the website there, sexual harassments or other forms of harassment or sexual assault. So those are all there. So the other forms of harassment, we have to see what it might mean. It's way broader than sexual harassment, the way it's written. So that's that, and that's NSF. And NIH has sort of similar type of guidelines that they are working on, but more information would, as we have it, we would share with you. So that's where we are. Any questions here on that? Nope. Okay, with that, let's go to other things we want to talk about, other updates. Kelly on the proposal. Thank you. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Cassie. All right, good morning. So the proposals team has been working to try to clarify the full review, limited review, and no review review levels for the campus. And we really want to make sure everybody understands what they mean and what the consequences could be for utilizing each of them. I want to start by saying we recommend the full review for campus because we want to make sure that we are ensuring call compliance, we are getting error-free submission, which ultimately should increase funding on. So that is our recommendation and that is not changing. What we want you guys to understand is when we do a full review, that means it's come in a full 5 business days or more in advance of the submission deadline. And when it comes in, it's got all of the approvals and PI certification attached to it in Cayuse. What we will do is assign it, an analyst will review it within 24 hours, may take a little bit longer if we're at a heavy deadline time period, but our goal is 24 hours. We will reach back out to the campus department with any recommended changes. And consistent with federal recommendations, we are recommending that we get the final proposal package 2 business days in advance of the deadline. We recognize that that is not always possible. So we are saying at a minimum 3 hours before the proposal deadline. And that is going to ensure that we catch any errors that come through and that if there are system issues, we can hopefully get those resolved in advance of that deadline. We did have an incident last week where we had errors and it took quite a while to get them resolved. So we want to make sure that we get everything in for you guys error-free and on time. Limited review means that it comes in complete with all of the required submittals and approvals and the certification less than 5 business days in advance of the submittal deadline. With a limited review, we're gonna check for the indirect cost based on the information submitted to make sure that that indirect cost is correct. And then we're gonna go ahead and submit. We wanna emphasize we can't guarantee submittal if there's a heavy deadline time period and that they're gonna go through error-free, but it will get it in. No review means that it comes in the day it's due, maybe sometimes the afternoon before it's due, and we just don't have an opportunity to review anything on that proposal. It's kind of treacherous territory. We don't know if the indirects are right. We don't know if the call has been followed to a T. We don't know if there's errors. We also can't guarantee submission. If we have a heavy deadline day where we might have 80 proposals due that day, we may not be able to get it submitted. So it's not recommended, but we want to make sure everybody understands what these mean and what the timeframes really look like. Last but not least, we want to emphasize that we are open during normal university business hours from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. That means if a deadline is at 9 o'clock at night, we really need to make sure we have it in by 5 p.m. And when I say by 5, I really mean before 5 to ensure errors. So if your deadline is 9 p.m., count on it being 5, which means we really want it by 2 p.m. Not only do we have staff not here after 5 p.m., but it also means that there are help desks that sometimes aren't open after 5 p.m. So if there's an error, we may not be able to get it resolved in a timely manner. So does anybody have any questions?
Any questions online?
All right, thank you.
It's just, again, thank you very much. Remember that what we are doing, we are trying to make sure that timely submitted proposals to our office they get full benefit of review, and that's where we can help and add value to the proposals. So you want to use the opportunity and allow us to help you send out proposals which are fully compliant with what the university and sponsor is requesting. So that's the aim of all of this. Thank you, Kelly. Now, how about an update from Grace regarding the award team? Thank you, Grace.
All right, good morning. This is Grace Liu, Associate Director of the award side. And this morning, I just want to give you guys some guidelines on how to request carry forward and no cost extensions on federal awards. Now, I know all of you are thinking, we've been requesting carry forwards and no cost extensions forever. Well, right now, the federal government is being more stringent because they want you to spend the allocated funds in the year it was allocated. Okay, so we are getting a lot more questions from federal agencies when you're asking for carry forward requests. I see James Ringo nodding. And also for some no cost extensions, especially on the second one. Okay, so I'm not going to get into specifics about which agency requires what. I will give you some guidelines on the kind of information to provide so you're not going back and forth with the sponsor multiple times. Okay, first, carry forward requests. Okay, please be sure to give a detailed account of your budget. And by that, I'm going to go through these following bullet points. So of course, you're going to provide your grant number and your PI name. And please put down the amount of funds to be carried over, both direct and indirect. Identify the funds that were restricted, if any. And then please provide an explanation for the unobligated balance. And if there are supplements, break out that balance by the parent and each supplement. Okay, that would be very helpful. And the kinds of information to include in your explanation are, why weren't the funds spent in the current budget year? Okay, just a basic question. Why was your project delayed? And then explain why the work can't be accomplished through rebudgeting. That's something that they're pushing back on. Can you please rebudget this into the current year? If it cannot be accomplished, tell them why not up front. And explain how the work will be impacted if the carry forward is not allowed. And also include the expenditure plan with description for future activities. Okay, so just give them all this information up front. That way they have all the information to consider. Okay, just a few more points on carry forward requests. Before you make the request, make sure that all of your required progress reports are submitted, because they're not going to consider your request if you have outstanding progress reports. And please remember to work with your SPO analyst, because we have to send it in as the authorized official. Okay, so don't send in the carry forward requests through your PI. All right, let's talk about requests for no cost extensions. Now, I know your award terms usually spell out, you know, these, how many no cost extensions are given as a formality. Usually the first one, they will approve it. Okay, the second and third one, they get a lot more stringent about it. So I just want to point out that these were some actual correspondence from a sponsor when we requested a second no cost extension. And you know, they're really putting you to the test. They want to know why you need it. So they're asking for a justification for the additional no cost extension. And then they're saying extensions will not be approved simply for the purposes of enabling the recipient to use unobligated balances. So simply telling them I have leftover funds isn't a good enough reason. You have to come up with a better reason. Okay, please send them a revised timeline for the budget, and then include the activities that have been completed to date, and then the future activities with the estimated dates of completion. And of course, as I said, you have to give them the balance of funds remaining by cost category. Okay, so make sure you have all of this information when you send it to your sponsor programs analyst, and we'll get that submitted to you to the sponsor. All right, any questions?
Thank you. Do you want to mention the NSF webinar, which is at 10:30 today?
Okay, so Ahmed wants me to bring up the fact that there is an NSF webinar on electronic research administration. Today, is it 10:30 or 10? It's at 10 o'clock our time. We sent out the link to the webinar early to the CNG listserv, and we're also going to be watching it here in room 200 for those of you who are already in the room. But that's the NSF webinar on electronic research administration.
And again, if you want to watch it from the campus, we don't have capability of streaming it from here. You have to do it from your desk. Okay, good, thank you. James, do you want to talk about updates from accounting?
No, okay, thank you. Just good morning, everybody. Okay, I've got one thing, maybe piggybacks on something that we've heard, just a reminder about deadlines. We've there may be a little bit of
Thank you.
Interpretation. I don't know what it is, but I want to remind you that when when Contracts and Grants Accounting is preparing our final financial reports, our annual financial reports, we need to use a closed ledger. So we need to use the closed ledger that is most recent. Typically, that means if we have a report that's due in 90 days, that means departments have 2 ledger cycles, 2 months to get all their expenses settled. You don't have 90 days. We have 90 days to get the report in. So we need to use that second ledger that comes out like the 10th of the month. That gives us a couple of weeks to work with it and get it submitted. And there seems to be a little bit of, I'm hearing from my folks that they're getting a lot of comments. Oh my gosh, we thought we had 90 days. We thought we had 90 days. No, you don't. It can be problematic if we run into that situation where you're trying to bring expenses in or out or whichever way. It's really hard for us to reconcile. It's a lot of extra work. It creates a situation where we might run out of time, be out of compliance with the reporting requirements. So again, typically 90-day financial reporting. Due date means you have 60 days or 2 ledger cycles to get it in. Sometimes our reports are due in 60 days. That means you have 1 month, 1 ledger cycle, because we, again, need to have a closed ledger. In rare situations, you know, we'll work with you. The situation we had yesterday, I think there were some late merit adjustments that were coming through, and we really need, you know, we want to understand what the situation is, but we don't want to just say you've got a boatload of time to work with, because we really don't. Does that make sense? Okay, sorry to harp on that, but just a reminder. Okay, so other good news is Contracts and Grants Accounting has our new compliance analyst in place, and Tamar Kelly, come up here because you need to be on, you have to wave at the camera because all the folks on campus, yes. Zoom in, zoom in. So Tamar joined us about, you know, a few weeks ago. He is, he's with Deborah Henn's compliance training team. So he is our point person for questions that might be coming in on the new cost share application. So we released, we had it up and running for a couple of weeks. We were trying to work a couple of kinks out. We announced to everybody on, I guess on Monday, the message went out, hey, we're good to go. So folks are now getting in there using the new system. Tamar's been fielding some questions there. And in fact, he's ready to field any questions right now.
Good.
You can't. That's okay. So Tamar, thank you. Those are the 2 things that I just wanted to mention real quick, discuss. I'm curious if any questions are coming in online or if folks here have any questions. Mike, did you have anything to do? Okay. To throw in? No. Okay. Well, that's
questions that come to me from time to time is something that I'm sure you don't have any update for, and has to do with status of F&A.
No.
Mike says no.
Not heard of him for 11 months.
So according to Mike, 11 months ago, the proposal went to feds and they haven't responded yet. So you know that at this point we are in the same rates that were in effect at the end of June are carrying forward right now. So those are the rates we have to use till we have the updated agreement. Mike says it's going to be probably at least another year. So business as usual now. Thank you.
We have a question now. James, could you repeat the question in your answer? Can we get a report for transactions with high-risk object codes?
The question is, can we get a report for transactions with high-risk object codes? Yes, we have a query. We have 2 queries developed that we can share with you. If you email Tamar, he will set you up. Did you know that that's under your purview with Deborah with the high-risk? There are 2 reports that we can run. One is focused on payroll transactions and one is focused on non-payroll transactions. So we look for, you know, administrative types, title codes, things that just maybe shouldn't be charged to some of our federal and other sponsored projects, or, you know, different types of costs that wouldn't typically belong. Actually, that's what all of our fund managers do as they're going through the closeout process, is they run those 2 queries and they ship them off to you and say, well, they may say, this really shouldn't be here, or they may say, this is interesting. Can you help me understand why this is applicable to this project? Does that help? Okay, I'm gonna go sit down.
Hurry up, go. Let's see. Sherry, do you want to give an update on Chaos? Unless if, I don't know if Cindy, you have to leave soon. Okay. Thank you, Sherry. Update on the database, Chaos, and
Good morning. So I'm Sherry Pulis, and I work with the IT department. And I had the opportunity to attend the Cayuse Roundup last week and got a lot of good information, a lot of good things that are coming down the pipeline. One of the exciting things, we were definitely sought out. They have heard all the wonderful things that we have put into place, including the reporting that we have done from the data, also the workflow events and how we're using them in all of our business processes. So my inbox is being flooded by individuals from other universities who would like to chat with us about how we are moving forward and making things better, as well as one of the exciting things is the product, I guess she's the product service manager for the Cayuse suite, who manages all the enhancement requests and whatnot, wants to spend some time speaking to some individuals within our office to kind of see how we're doing things, what we're doing, and they're definitely taking notice. And that's good for us because that helps improve future products down the road line. So there's a lot of things that they're doing that we have suggested that they've seen us do that they're putting in future releases. So we are definitely paving the path for other universities. So if there's any things like any enhancements you might think make the system better, any issues that you come up, no matter how small, just email that to the OR Cayuse help line desk, and they'll make sure that I get that information and pass it on to the appropriate individuals. But I just want to kind of give you an update on some things that are coming down the pipeline. So on October 6th, and it will be after hours, they're going to upgrade Cayuse 424 to version 8.4. If you're not on the listserv, the Spark Info listserv, because I do send an email out reminding you when that upgrade is going to happen, as well as sending out the release notes. Once again, email the OR Cayuse help, and then they will forward that to me, and I will make sure that you get added to the listserv. But some of the things that they're doing, I know I have gotten a couple of emails about the grants.gov submission 2 header. That's going to be in that release, as well as they're doing an attachment reboot. So there have been some suggestions that UC Davis has passed on to them about how to improve the attachments and some of the different naming conventions. They have put a lot of those suggestions into this attachment reboot, and they did give a live demo. It's actually pretty cool, some of the things that they're doing. So that will be available in that update. They also have improved the fringe rate. They're improving that whole process. So you'll see some changes in that. There's also going to be new forms added, new validation types. So there's actually a whole list of things on this next upgrade. So once again, that's October 6th for the 424. Now Cayuse SP, we're upgrading to version 3.8 on October 11th at 6:15 p.m. So it will be once again after hours.
good. Thank you.
You're welcome. And once again, I will send the release notes out to the listserv after that is done. A lot of the stuff you won't notice being the regular users, the front end, there's a lot on the back end, but the couple of things you will notice, I know in our units and our org hierarchy, you see a lot of the codes that say do not use this one instead. Well, we have on the back end now the ability to hide those. So it'll make that a lot cleaner and tighten it down a lot, which is really cool. And the other biggest thing is the search results can now be exported to CSV files. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, on their dashboard. Yeah, so it'll be on your dashboards under my proposals in my unit, my awards in my unit, and then the project dashboard. So that's a good thing that they're adding in. Some of the future things that they're going to be doing is you'll have the opportunity to be able to edit and delete notes. And that's something that a lot of people have wanted to be done. So it's not going to be in this version. It's going to be in the version after that. And then they're also working on process history improvements. So you'll be able to see more the history of the proposals and the awards that are coming through. They're going to have updates to templates, the sub-award templates. They're doing a big update for those. They're now going to have in-app tutorials They're going to improve the load time for the proposals. They're also going to improve reporting, and they also will have new features for analytics, data analytics, that they'll be probably releasing over the next 6 to 8 months. And we will be the early adopter on that to give suggestions, but it'll be more on the back end before it's released on the front end. So there's a lot of good things we have coming up. They're really pushing hard to make sure the whole Cayuse suite is a holistic approach from cradle to grave. So they're now going to have everything integrated, which means their IRB module, their iCook module, their COI module, all of them are now going to be integrated. So if you have any questions or any issues, like I said, or anything that comes up, please email the OR Cayuse help, and then they will make sure I get that information. Anybody have any questions? Any questions online, Cassie? Awesome sauce. Okay.
Thank you very much for all your work on that. Cindy, our Executive Associate Vice Chancellor, has lots of updates, or some updates.
Actually, just one, but it's an important one, and she's not here today in this meeting, but Donna, because she's in the midst of an audit, but we offered, and Donna Routley has accepted the role of Director of our Institutional Animal Care and Use Committee. So she will be our new permanent lead. Well, it's permanent. I mean, people still have the opportunity to take other positions, but we don't necessarily encourage that. But she's been serving as interim, and now she will be permanent in that role. So if you have an opportunity to say congratulations to her, it's great. And thanks to everyone who helped us during the interview processes on that hire. So that's the
So how do you define permanent again?
permanent.
I thought these are career roles.
As permanent as you can be under California labor laws. So that's my announcement.
Okay.
To be clear, I know Sherry mentioned on the Cayuse system that they also do have modules for IRB, IACUC, and COI. We have not yet purchased those. So far, it's just the sponsor programs, proposal grant submission, and award management pieces that we have purchased. So just not to confuse everybody with the comments. So
Okay.
any questions?
Nothing here.
All righty. Thank you.
Well, any questions for any of us about anything related to research administration? Just 1 second, please.
Most of my PIs are on a code that has the do not use tag. Is there a way to mass emigrate them to the one that's supposed to be used?
So the short answer is no, there's not a way to mass integrate, but the best way to handle that is to update their 424 professional profiles. So what's happening is many units have at least 2 unit codes, right? And there's one for payroll and one for contracts and grants accounting. And the one that automatically gets pulled into their 424 profile, which is what drives their SP information as well, is their payroll code, because it's coming from payroll records. So the best way, and unfortunately if you do it individually, but is to go into the investigator's 424 profile and change that code to the one that's used for contracts and grants accounting. So unfortunately, we don't have a way to do the mass integration, but if you do that, it will update their records in SP the following day, and it will always be correct.
Thank you. Any other easier questions? Sherry has some more updates.
Not really. Cassie asked me to do one thing and I totally forgot to do it. The NSF webinar, it may be full. So for those who haven't registered, if you go and register, then you might not be able to. So just heads up.
So if they are in an office that somebody else has it, you can just be in the same office, obviously, like we are doing it here.
So I do have another question online, and it's asking about how to check the status of a subaward out to another institution. So I'm assuming you mean to check the status in Cayuse SP. And if that's correct, you go to, if you are on the investigators or research team, then you can go to my awards. Otherwise, go to awards in my unit, and you need to have access to the awards in that unit, which the role manager does. So you go to awards in my unit, go to active projects, select the project, and then go to the subcontracts tab, and you'll be able to see information there. And if you go to notes, you'll see additional information. There are links to instructions on how to do this at the Spark training website, which is spark.ucdavis.edu/training. They're in the user guides, and they're also in the video tutorials if you want to see how to do that. So that is how you check the status. And if you go to the notes on that subcontract, you'll also see who your analyst is. And if you need more information, you can contact that person.
Hold on to it. Maybe you would have some more questions.
Any more questions? I think that's it.
It's only 9:10, so if there's nothing else, we can just stop and start when the webinar starts. But again, we are not broadcasting the webinar. We cannot do that. We are watching it here, and if you have registered already, you can watch it at your desk, obviously. Thank you very much. Again, next meeting we would have is October 24th. That's the last forum of the year. Remember, we don't have forums in November and December because of holidays. And in the next meeting, I am expecting that we would have more information regarding the reporting requirements of NSF and NIH, which would become effective 3 days before that forum. The effective date is October 21st, and the forum is on October 24th, and we would have an update then. With that, thank you very much, and see you next month.